Hi, this is Katie from Cooking Good. Today I'm going to show you how to make a sausage, mushroom and leek tagliatelle dish that will be a great main meal and prepared and cooked in under 20 minutes. So let me show you what I've got as the ingredients. I have got some chopped mushrooms. So here we go, I've sliced them. I'm not very good at measuring everything out, so what I try to do is think how much would I like to eat, and because I'm doing it for 4 people, I've chopped up roughly 6 to 8 mushrooms plus about another 6 button mushrooms, so that's what's in there. In here I've got chopped leek. It's just 1 leek, but if you like it to be more oniony, you can add more leek. Probably 2 small leeks or 1 large leek. Then here I've got 100 millilitres of dry white wine. Now, again, I don't like measuring everything out, so I just try to estimate really. And a good way to do that with millilitres, if you haven't got a measuring jug, is everybody loves a cup of tea, so they usually have their mug. This is usually around 250 to 300 millilitres. So then if you know a recipe, for example, takes around 125 to 150 millilitres, you know that it's roughly half a mug. So that's a good way to estimate quantities of liquid. I've got some double cream here, which is 300 millilitres in this container, so I know that it'd be around half of that. I've got a couple of fresh rosemary sprigs. If you haven't got fresh rosemary, that's not a problem, it just gives it an extra bit of flavour. You could use dry herbs or maybe even some chopped basil, because it's quite an Italian sort of feeling recipe. And I've got some salt and pepper and just some oil to cook the ingredients in. Now our key ingredient here is sausages. So here I had a pack of 6 sausages. They were an Italian flavour, because you can obviously get all the different flavoured sausages. I picked an Italian flavour because I'm serving it with pasta and some like Italian-y ingredients. Basically, we use the sausage meat from the sausage, which is what I've pre-prepared here, but I'll show you what I've done. So basically, I've got my sausages. I've literally just cut a line down the actual skin of the sausage and then peeled the skin of the sausage off. So literally that just comes off like that, a little bit messy. Put that in my bowl, and I've literally done that for all 6 sausage. So it comes off really easily. There we go, and we just get the nice flavoured with herbs sausage meat. And then all I'm doing is throwing that skin away and just giving these a really good mash around just to break up the meat. So that's all our ingredients ready. A non-stick pan, frying pan, any sort of frying pan, or even a big non-stick saucepan would be fine. And what we're going to do is put that on a low heat, sort of medium heat. I'm going to put that on about a 6 on this electric hob, but I put quite a generous serving of olive oil, around 6 tablespoons, but again I just do it by sight and roughly think I want to give it a good covering on the bottom of my pan so that everything doesn't stick. And in here I'm going to start with frying my sausage meat. My daughter's actually gluten-free, so I have always checked that sausages are gluten-free because that's what we use in the house. So once that oil is a little bit hot, probably should have waited that to heat up a little bit more, but we've got that in. And what I'm going to put in there is my chopped leek. Now these are chopped quite fine. They're probably around just under 1 centimetre, and what I've done is I've separated the rings so that they can cook quite individually. So here's one of the rings, and I've literally just separated it out so that I've got nice little separate leeks here. Just means it cooks a little bit quicker. So in goes my leek and my sausage meat, and I'm going to cook that now for about 5 minutes. And I'm going to keep stirring it occasionally just so that it doesn't stick to my pan. Okay, so that's going to start cooking and sizzling away. So while I'm just going to turn my chopping board over because I have used it for meat, so I just want to have a nice clean surface. So I'm actually just going to prepare my other ingredients. So while that's cooking, you could obviously chop your mushrooms, and I've washed them under a cold tap just to get any grit off or dirt off. And now I'm actually chopping my rosemary to be quite fine, and we'll be adding that shortly. If you haven't got fresh herbs, like I said, you could use dry herbs or no herbs if you don't think the kids would like the green bits floating around. But it is a nice flavour, and it does obviously give that extra little bit of greenery to help with vitamins and minerals. Great, so this is starting to sizzle. So I'm going to give this another good stir. And that's starting to cook now. I've just left that cooking for a few minutes. You can see that the sausage meat is starting to turn a different colour. It's cooking nicely. The leeks are becoming soft, so that shows it's cooking away nicely. I've turned up the heat slightly. Mine's on a 7.5 now, probably about gas 7 as well. So in here, I'm now going to add my other vegetables and herbs. So I'm going to put in my chopped rosemary, sprinkle it around there. There we go. Just give that a bit of a stir in. I'm going to add my button mushrooms and my chestnut mushrooms. Again, you could add different sorts of mushrooms, portobello mushrooms, porcini mushrooms that you soak in the water and then use. But really, whatever you've got available in the fridge. If you haven't got mushrooms or the kids don't like mushrooms, you don't need to add them at all. But it just makes a lovely kind of woody flavour with the sausage. So I'm going to give that a good stir round. And then what I'm going to do is add my 100 millilitres of dry white wine. So what we do is we add this in, and because the heat is medium, it'll actually burn off any of the alcohol, but just leave the lovely flavour of the wine. And what I'm going to do in here now is add a good sprinkle of pepper. This is black ground pepper. You could use normal white pepper. And then I'm only going to put a little bit of salt because we've used sausages. They've already got salt in. If you wanted to use pork mince or traditional sausage meat that you can also buy, it won't have the herbs or the salt that a sausage would have. So if that's the case, I would add a bit more salt. But here, I'm only going to add literally a small kind of grind of salt. There we go. So that's going to bubble away nicely. So while that's cooking for about another couple of minutes, just to let that alcohol burn off and the mushrooms cook through, you can actually start focusing on your pasta. So in here I've got boiling water and I've got a little bit of salt. So using your pasta, you can use whatever you have in the cupboard. So if you've got dried pasta, you can use that. I've actually got fresh pasta here that's in the fridge section at the supermarket. This can be frozen as well. So if you find that you've used half a packet and don't want to waste it, you can actually seal it and put it in a freezer bag and use it at a different date. On the back, it will tell you how long to cook it for, if it's from frozen or if it's from fresh. So here it's just telling me it takes 3 minutes. So it also usually gives you a serving suggestion. So here it's saying about 3 or 4 nests per person. The nest is this little ball here for the tagliatelle. You could use spaghetti, you can use gluten-free pasta, which is what I'd used for my daughter if she was eating some, but she's not actually having this recipe, which is why I'm just using normal pasta today. So basically I'm going to add a few of these in here. There's actually only a couple of us eating tonight. This is based on 4 people, and I'm just going to do pasta enough really for 2 people. So you'll have hopefully some mixture left over once you've finished cooking. What you can do is actually put that in a bowl, cling film it and leave it in the fridge for a couple of days, and then cook another batch of pasta in a couple of days. Or if you want extra sauce with your pasta, you can do that too. Right, there's still quite a lot of liquid there, so I'd probably let it cook down just a little bit more. It's lovely because you can see that the leeks are getting nice and soft there. Right, okay, so this is bubbling away nicely now, so the alcohol should have all burned off. So what I'm going to do is add my 150ml roughly of double cream. So this is 300ml, so I'm just going to roughly add about half of it. There we go, so I'm going to give that a lovely stir, and that's the base for our nice creamy sauce. If you're lactose intolerant or you're not a big fan of creamy sauces, at that stage you could actually add a tomato-based sauce. We've got our versatile tomato sauce that's on the Cooking Good website, or you could use a tin of passata or chopped tomatoes, maybe with a little bit of basil in as an extra, and that could be a different alternative to the sauce. So here we go, so we've got this just bubbling away nicely. I'm just going to let that cook off again for a couple more minutes, just to make it thicken a little bit, and then we should see that our pasta is nearly cooked as well. Just going to stir that around. I would say that's not far off. So when we've got our pasta that's cooked, I'm going to just turn that down a little bit so it's not simmering quite so much. There we go. Lovely. So what I'm going to do now is drain the pasta, but I'm not going to let it sit in the sieve for too long. So I'm going to drain it, and quite quickly I'm going to tip it back into the pan, and that will give me, actually I'll take a little bit more water out. You can just see in the bottom there's still some of the cooking water. Now that, when it's added to the sauce, gives a nice glossy sauce with the pasta. So I'm going to turn the heat off, because everything's really nice and hot, so you don't actually need it to be any hotter. I'm going to add, because I don't want to use all of this, because this is based on 4 people and the pasta's for 2 people, I'm actually going to add quite a lot of the sausage meat, and obviously you can see quite a lot of creamy sauce still left in there. So I'm just going to grab a ladle and just get some of the nice juicy bits in there. There we are. And then this can actually be put in the fridge in a bowl, put some nice cling film over it just to keep it fresh, and then that can be used for the next couple of days if you've got a teenager that wasn't eating with you tonight and wants to eat tomorrow, or even if you want to use it for a packed lunch to take to work with some pasta. That's another option. You would basically just cook some fresh pasta, add this to it again, and warm it in the microwave or on a hob. There we go. So here is my lovely sausage. I'm just going to add a little bit more of that sauce. Sausage pasta. So I'm going to serve that in a bowl. So obviously we've got some lovely veg in there anyway, with the leeks and the mushrooms and a little bit of rosemary, but you could serve it just now with some garlic bread and some Parmesan cheese on top. But I've got a little side salad that I'd got left over from lunchtime, just with some lettuce, some spring onion and peppers in, and that will be lovely served on the side of it. I also like a little bit of extra black pepper on the top of mine, just to give it a nice little zing. And that will be our dinner for tonight. So let's see how we are. So I use a fork and a spoon just to wind it round, just so it doesn't dribble all down my chin. Brilliant.